Welcome back to Ambii.Alert Podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Amber. Today we have Miss Treka McMillan. She is a native from Chadron, North Carolina. Played 4 years of high school basketball where she made the All-Star team and the East and West High School All-Star game. She is the biggest collegiate female recruit from Columbus County as of today with a full scholarship to the South Carolina Gamecocks. Welcome
Yes,
to the show.
yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Of course. So how are you doing today, Miss Treka?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
That is great. So real quick, y'all. I gotta have a little tasty refreshing. Shout out to Red Bull. I've been running on that spring edition. This is the grapefruit and blossom sugar-free edition. So y'all go check it out. I love it. So y'all should too. Okay. So getting into about you, Miss Treka. So how was it coming from playing basketball at a small high school and going to play basketball at a huge, university institution?
It was a transition. I think it was made a little easier because I was an athlete, so it kind of made the school smaller. Even though my graduating class was like 127 and my first psychology class was 500, it was the transition was not quite as overwhelming for me because I had a sport. I was playing a sport, and
Hmm.
I was connected with my team, but then also some other athletes. So you made it made the world a lot smaller because you would see some familiar faces.
Yes, ma'am. So, when you played at the collegiate level, how was women's sports compared to now?
Oh man, it was a totally different than it is now. You know, we being at the University of South Carolina, we was at a bigger school, and so
Right.
we had the best opportunity if you're going to have it, but it still was not compared to now. I remember going on the road and playing in some of the cities we were playing in Louisville in particular, and we were playing in a high school gym. So women's sports just wasn't getting the publicity. We didn't have TV contracts like they have now. They fly in charter. Just so many changes have happened, and it's been good
Hmm.
for women's basketball.
That's great. I literally ran at the Gamecocks twice.
Hmm.
I think once my junior year, and then no, I think it was my junior year indoor and outdoor. The
Hmm.
university is nice. It's beautiful. It's huge.
Yeah, it
And I'm
is.
just like, wow, like South
Yeah.
Carolina, they got it going on. So how do you feel about like this new transfer portal and like NIL deals and athletes being able to just make money off NIL? They don't really have to even go to school really. They can just make
Right.
money off sponsors and partnerships. How do
Yeah.
you feel about that now compared to when you were in college and played basketball?
Well, I think the transfer portal is not a favorite. I'm not a fan of that because not only did I play, but I coached for 21 years. So at
Hmm.
different levels, including University of Minnesota and WNBA, and so I from the perspective of maybe after 1 year you can transfer, but to play at 4 schools in 4 years for a coach that's hard because there's no loyalty to. You don't know who to recruit. I mean, you think you're going to have a player that's going to be there, and they could start every game and still transfer. And
Right.
now when you're recruiting them, it's just how much money can you give me? So
Exactly.
it's turned a lot of sports and college is not amateur anymore. I think it's like semi-pro. I think it's good that players can get the money. I just think it's going to get. I'm gonna see where it's going to go because I think it's going to get out of control. I think they're going to have to separate the Western Carolinas, the smaller schools, the smaller Division I schools from the bigger Division I schools, kind of like they do football, because the haves are going to have more, and the have-nots are not going to be able to get it, and it's not fair. I think across the board to the smaller schools.
Right. I think so as well. I think it's not fair to high school students as well. Like when I went to college, high schools, we kind of had a chance to get, into university. But like now coaches are looking at, transfer students, because they're already developed, they're
Yep.
mature, instead of focusing on a high schooler who's, immature, still
Yeah.
learning, they're new to
Hmm.
the area. So it is definitely a disadvantage.
Yep.
And y'all, Miss Treka coached at Western Carolina, my alumni school, for 6 years.
Yeah.
So just let y'all know that
Yeah.
y'all can search
I
her up,
agree
y'all
with you,
see her.
Amber. I agree.
You
I think the
agree?
people who get hurt the most in this is the freshmen,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't have a chance to come in and learn and get better from a senior class or junior, because coaches, and then there's on the flip side of that, coaches have pressure to win. And so
Right.
the pressure to win makes them have to go get people out of the portal because they need experience because there's not a lot of time for you to show an athletic director that you can put a team together and win. And if you're not winning in college sports, you're going to get fired. And so that's the flip side of that for college coaches. I've got to put a team on the court that can perform and that can win at a high
Exactly.
level.
Exactly. And it's sad, but it's just like that's just how it is now. Like
Yeah, it is.
I see high schoolers now that I know, and they're just like, they can't catch a break. They can't get anyone to pay attention to them. Like they
Yeah.
have good times, but it's just like
Hmm.
in the
Yeah.
coach's eyes, it's like, look, I need something better, or I'm going to give this scholarship to a transfer and
Right.
let you get this scholarship, and
Hmm.
it's
And
just
then
all out of
and
whack.
that's upsetting for a for a high school athlete to put all their time into it and then they don't get the
Mhm.
opportunity. And so they've changed the rule with junior college now that you can go to junior college 2 years and still have 4 years of eligibility to NCAA school.
Mhm.
But that's still not that's not I don't think that's the answer. I think that's a band-aid for some
Right.
athletes. But yeah, if you're not running your times and they can get a athlete to who's already run at another school, they're going to pick the experienced athlete over a freshman.
I totally agree. So if you were, around, well, no, if you were like in college till today, would you transfer? Do you think you would transfer to another school?
Growing up in the town that I grew up in, where everything was, you're loyal to people. Um, I would say I wouldn't, but at the same time, as a 19, 18, 19, 20 year old, and you're saying,
Hmm.
okay, if you come over here, I can offer you $500,000. That might, I mean, you may change your mind. I mean, because their players are transferring because of money. They're not
Right.
transferring because they didn't play, and that used to be the case. Oh, I didn't get a chance to play. Coach didn't play me,
Hmm.
But now it's like, how much money can you give me? My friends that coach now, that's what they're dealing with. It's like they got
Hmm.
kids got agents, and I'm like
Hmm.
agents in college, and it's like that's crazy,
Yeah.
man.
I'll be looking at the basketball and football players. They be having these big chains on. I'm like,
And so so you're football, basketball, men's and women's basketball, you're gonna get the biggest
mhm.
deals. But then you're a sport who's non, whatever sports that they call, what's the name for it? Yeah,
America's tradition.
yeah, they're right. So then you get track and field, or you get golf, or you get soccer, and those players
Hmm.
don't have the same opportunity to get
I
deals
agree.
as a men's basketball player, or South Carolina women even have deals for their practice players, which is crazy. The UFOs, because Donna
Oh,
Staley she has a deal with UFOs, the shoes that recovery.
okay.
So the guys
Uh
have
huh.
recovery shoes and they've got a contract and they get bags because they practice every day with the women. And so she got them a deal with an NIL deal. The practice guys, like that's crazy. I think it's absolutely
That
crazy.
is ridiculous. That is crazy.
Oh,
But I'm pretty sure like other big institutions, probably like Oregon or
mm-hmm.
like yeah, Oregon, something like places like
They
that.
have they
They
have a
definitely
connection to
probably give
Nike. Oh yeah.
their practice squad
Did you ever run?
gear and
Just a quick
stuff.
question, sidebar. Did you ever run at Oregon? Out of
Not I've never ran in Oregon, no ma'am.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's crazy out there.
I heard like Nike Town. It's
Hmm.
just Nike everywhere.
Everywhere.
But speaking of Nike, so going back to if you were still in college, what would be your dream NIL deal? Like working with Nike, working with Adidas, working with,
Hmm.
New Balance, whoever.
I think obviously Nike was always my favorite, one of my favorite shoes to wear.
Hmm.
Would be a Nike deal because you get so much gear. But I think because Nike also now I'm into Kohans and dress shoes, so I think
Yeah.
I'd probably stick with Nike. But there's some of the things out of the box that they're getting paid, like maybe one with a realty company that could build me a house, something like
Yeah.
that, because you represent that, and so then you can take care of your family and put your family in a different situation. So I think
Yeah.
probably one of those two would probably be the one that I would want.
Yeah. I like it. I think there's a lot of NIL deals that people can get out here. Like you said, realtor, NIL deals, Red Bull,
Yeah.
like a whole bunch of deals you can get. It's crazy. It's not just Nike or Adidas or like stuff that you can wear, but
Hmm.
stuff that you can like later on invest in, and look back at. So when you were in high school, what were all the offers? you had besides South Carolina?
I was Appalachian State, ETSU, UNC Wilmington. My dream school actually, and initially because of the being in North Carolina, was NC State, and I went to the
Okay.
camp every summer because I wanted to be an engineer at the time. And
Mm-hmm.
and then Coach Al, because I had gone to her camp and had a relationship with her, she said, there was one player in front of me, and Rhonda Mapp ended up taking. She became their center, but we both
Mm-hmm.
played in the East West All Star game against each other. We became friends later on, but your competitors become your friends. They're frenemies.
Right. Yeah.
You hate to compete against them, but yeah, those are schools that I had offers from.
That's great. Like going back to what you said, hating to compete against your enemies. When I was in high school, we had like a bunch of rivalry teams. Like we just didn't have one. When it
Hmm.
came to track, it was like we don't want to run against this team, this team, this team. But it's
Right.
now that we're older and like we're out of college, we're just like, oh hey girl,
Yeah,
we
exactly.
friends.
Even the ones that you compete against at Western, you'll see those. You'll see them, and you're like, yeah, you used to run against them, you compete against them, but later on, you're like, oh yeah, I remember you ran at Chat or you ran at this
Yeah.
school.
Yeah, ETSU, ETSU is in the SoCon
Hmm.
conference. Yeah, ETSU that's a good school to run against. NC State is definitely. I understand why you want to go there.
Yeah, State's
It's
a
in
big
a nice
school too.
city. Yeah, a big school. I went to a cheer camp there one
Did you?
year, and I didn't want to leave. I was like, this is a nice school.
Yeah, I
Like,
enjoyed my time at South Carolina. It's changed so much every time, and I have season tickets. I go back to the games every time. You go
mm,
back, and we have a strong alumni base. We stay connected. We are always chatting during games. We like texting each other in group chats, and so
mm-hmm,
we have a good alumni. We meet up at least one time a year. This was the 50th
mm-hmm,
anniversary of Title IX, so we had a big celebration for that. For all the
mm-hmm,
athletes who came back, it was a lot of at first, I was like, man, all these athletes come in, and you see African American athletes, and I'm like, they had to run track because at that time it was mostly women's basketball and track that were black. And then I was
mm-hmm.
like, oh man, that was a volleyball player. I didn't even know her, because the campus is literally so big, you don't really get a chance to really get to know. You either, you get in your sport and you're in your major. And that's the people
Right.
that you build your relationships with because you don't have
Mm-hmm.
time. You don't have time to be on campus like just hanging out. And then you had a
That's
sorority, so you had, those three things. That's it. You don't have time to be
it.
like developing other
Exactly.
relationships.
I try to tell younger athletes, going to college is not and playing a sport is not a joke. Like you're focusing on your sport and your academics. Like you don't have time to be wandering around campus and you don't have time. You're tired. Like you want to go home. You want
And
to
then
eat food.
you
Like
you ever hear people say, "Man, I'm so tired," and you got out of class at like 2 o'clock. You had nothing else to do. Like I was in practice, and I had to go to
literally.
waste, and I had a study table. And it just didn't end. Like you're the one thing I do know is you have to be able to manage time. And if you can't
Hmm.
manage time, then you're gonna get swallowed up. And then nobody can prepare you for it. You just kind of have to go through it your first semester, and then you kind of
Hmm.
you kind of balance yourself out. But it's crazy.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was for me freshman year at
Hmm.
Western. Um, it was just like kind of depressing the first semester,
Hmm.
and then the second semester I was like, okay, I'm getting adjusted.
Hmm.
I know where things are. I have my car.
Yeah.
I'm making friends. I got my friends on the track team. But yeah, people used to kill me that weren't athletes. They used to be like, oh, I got all this homework to do. I got this and that. I used to be like, okay,
And here you are
whatever.
trying to get stuff done on the bus and hotel. Like we having to scramble to get like work done. And the things that's
Hmm.
changed too now, the way we travel, the way you travel, you're on a bus and the bus has Wi-Fi. And like we didn't have none of that. Of course, we didn't have, I'm dating myself because that was before the internet. But South Carolina women now they are traveling like that. We had study hall Sunday through Thursday, 7 to 9. Now they just go and swipe in at the Doty and like you got 4 or 5 hours, you swipe in and swipe out and training
Right.
table, even nutrition bars, like just they've improved things for athletes and they've tried to make it better for them to be an athlete at the university because it is something in addition to what you do and going to class. So I think
Right.
everything that athletes can get from the university, they should take advantage of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I really do. So when it came to your coaching career, after you stopped playing basketball, why did you go into coaching
I
all
think the
those
biggest
years?
thing I wanted to do is help young women and
Mm,
empower them and see from the age of 18 to 22 their growth in that age and that span. Because you left Greensboro at 17, 18 years old, and by the time
yes,
you
ma'am. Hmm.
graduated from Western, you were a totally different person. And based on the things that you were seeing, people you've been around, experiences wanted to do and be able to do is just to have that impact. And that's what led me into coaching. I had never had a female coach until I went to college because at West Columbus, and I played basketball, volleyball, and softball in high school.
Hmm.
I never had a female coach, and so
Wow.
even at the middle school, and so that was a big thing for me. Not just have a female coach, but have a black female coaching me, and so
Hmm.
I wanted to have that impact on young women because it's different when you can go in the office and talk to someone who looks like you because you don't.
Yeah.
There's some things you don't have to explain, and
Hmm.
you understand because you as a black athlete, if you don't have that representation, you can't explain some things. It's just some things we just understand.
Right. Well, I love the explanation. I know your teams was on go. I wish I was there when you was coaching at Western
Oh yeah,
Carolina.
I know, man. I'm in fact, I think I might have been the only black in the Ramsey building. I was the only black
Really?
coach, female coach at the time. Yeah.
Wow.
You know,
Well,
I
that's
when when you lived in Minnesota, you pay attention to things
yeah.
like that. When you live up in the mountains, I mean, you gotta
Hmm.
you pay attention to things like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
there were some men's basketball coaches and some football coaches, but not any other females. And
Wow.
it was just you carry that torch because you understand that those athletes, and I became because of that. I knew a lot of the athletes, the volleyball players. I knew track athletes because they seen another female coach that looked like
Hmm.
them. And so, you'd have a relationship with them because they'd come through and you see them.
Yeah, that's a huge accomplishment. I'll be proud. Like I was the only black female coach
Yeah,
in Ramsey at the time, and they didn't
yeah,
expanded Ramsey. They're
yeah,
still I think they're still building to Ramsey now.
yeah.
I just posted something the other day about donations or something. Or
Oh
the
yeah, they're
Catamount.
gonna hit you now. You're you're,
Catamount.
you're the love now.
Look, I'm not giving nothing not
They
right
like
now.
you want to join the Catamount Club? Like yeah, they like
Yeah.
okay. Oh yeah, you get inundated. Don't let look when South Carolina wins final when they get to the Final Four, we get emails all the time about giving money. They think you be excited to be a Gamecock then.
That
Money
is
comes.
funny. So, which South Carolina women's basketball player style of play do you like?
I'm a post player, so I like the bigger players, and I like them to have versatility because I like for them to be able to move away from the basket because the game is a faster, it's a different pace game now.
Hmm.
Whereas I was playing at 6'1", playing against bigger posts. Now, like a 6'1" post player would be shooting threes, whereas before you didn't have that versatility. So I like the posts who can step out and do more than one thing and not just play with their back to the basket.
Okay, I'm learning a lot about basketball. I don't know much, but every interview I have with people or every basketball person I come across, I'm like, okay, this is a
Yeah,
forward. But y'all have
yeah.
forwards, right?
I
Yeah,
went
this is
forward.
yeah, this is a center,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, I'm still learning. I'm more of a football fan, but basketball, I'm getting there because I like the fast paced. Like
Hmm.
I watched the Houston against Florida game the other night, and that game was
Man,
I was on the edge of my seat. Like
yeah, that came down to the last play.
yeah,
Yep,
the nitty gritty, literally.
yep,
I was like,
sure did. Literally.
I was going for Houston. My dad was going for Florida.
Oh yeah.
I
Probably
was
because
so upset.
Duke was out of it.
Yeah,
People.
yeah. So yeah, one of your many accolades was you was nominated National Coach of the Year, right?
Yep.
And you
Hmm.
received two other Coach of the Year awards. So how how was that feeling like in the moment, like when you received those awards, and how is it now? Like,
When you receive any kind of award, as a coach, your biggest thing is, you didn't do it. Your players did it. And
mm,
so you feel good that the gratification of the hard work that you put in, but it's also the work that you put in to develop these young athletes so that they could perform. And that's the biggest thing that you get from a coach is being able to help them perform at the highest level they can perform at. And
Right.
that's the biggest thing is we can get an award. It's never an award of recognition for you. It's a recognition for your team.
Yes. So when it came to you coaching in the WNBA, how was that experience compared to college?
Love it. I was one of it's relationship building, and
Mm-hmm.
my assistant coach from college was an assistant with the WNBA. And so the
Oh,
first
okay.
year they first started, I was working at a college there, and they was doing like a tryouts. And she said,
Mm-hmm.
"Would you like to be an evaluator?" I said, "Sure, it's an experience." And so because I was around, they allowed me to come to practice. And so I just kind of hung around and started. And then the next year I was on the staff. But professional basketball, whereas like college, you got to eat together, you're always together, you move as a group. College, professional, here's your per diem. The bus is leaving at 3. You never see them. You don't have to deal with them. If they don't make the bus, they get fined. Like it's
Wow.
not, you don't babysit nobody, because they're professionals and
Right.
it's their job. It's their job to show up on time. It's their job to be prepared. So I like that. I didn't have to do dinners. I didn't have to plan nothing, none of that. We just showed up when time to show up. We met as coaches. I never saw the players in between. We didn't have to do no curfews, none of that. So
Right.
you're in a whole new world of non guidance of because they're like 30 some, 20 some, 30 some years old.
So even like with rookies, like let's say y'all go out on the road, they don't have a curfew. Like they don't have
No,
to
they
like they
20
won't.
some years, they 30, 20, 23 years old. They because like I said, if you don't show up, you lose your money, you're losing money. And
Okay.
so it would be funny because if they miss the bus, they got to be on the floor by a certain time. If you ain't on the floor by a certain time, they're gonna send you we call it a fax. We're like, oh, they're gonna get a fax today because they're getting fined.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna
Wow.
get a letter in their box, and so it was, it was very, very, it was a job. And that,
Mm-hmm.
you would show up for your job on time, you show up to class on time, but nobody's like, if you didn't show up at Western, I'll say this about like athletes versus just regular students. If you sleep in, because it's easy to do that and not go to class, nobody's looking for you as a regular student. If you don't
Right.
show up to stuff that you're supposed to show up to as an athlete, somebody's looking for you. So there's a greater accountability. But their accountability in the pros is I'm getting paid, I'm getting a check, and if I don't do something, some of my money's gonna get taken. So I think that's a big motivator. It's like I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
lose my money.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I kind of think. I mean, it still plays a part a little bit in college because like I know at Western, like my coach used to be like, if y'all aren't at weights at 6 a.m., I might take some of your scholarship money. Or sometimes like when he would get like so fed up with the team, he'll say
Hmm.
something like, if you're not at practice at 11 o'clock or at 10:59, that scholarship money is going out the
Oh,
window.
so in basketball, they were on scholarship and so they were on full ride. So we would say, scholarships are annual renewable and they renew them every year. So, we would tell them that we like, your scholarship hadn't been renewed yet because people say a 4-year scholarship, but it's not that.
Right.
You get the scholarship every year and there's a new
Exactly.
scholarship. They could change that at any time
Hmm.
and say, hey, Amber, we're not going to give you this money this year. We're going to give you this. And so, we would always kind of threaten our athletes too. I think we had one player that we had to put on a semester by semester scholarship because she was just
Wow.
that. Just absolute. But the funny thing is now you see these athletes and they're very mature. They don't handle stuff very well. They make decisions
Hmm.
and they come back to almost inevitably come back and say, Coach, I'm sorry. Like I was such a knucklehead.
Right.
And I had one kid tell us, she said, every time I see y'all, I feel like I need to apologize for how I was, and we understand as coaches that, it's tough being an athlete from 18 to 22, you're away from home. It's a lot of different things. I'm
Hmm.
sure when you first got to Western, you thought about going home, you
I
know,
sure did.
I'm sure you thought about going home because most athletes do. And that's why they would
Hmm.
have a coach like me who would say, look, I understand. I get it. I
Hmm.
understand. It's not a lot of people sometimes that look like you here. That's you got to deal with that part too. and then you got to deal with, am I running? Am I traveling? It's all this different stuff that you got to deal with. But hey, it's going to be okay.
Yeah,
And if I told you it was going to be okay, then you kind of say, okay, she's saying it's going to be okay. I believe her. I'm even if I have to come in her office and cry sometime, it's going to be okay. And so
that's
that was the best thing I could offer athletes is, hey, a safe space.
yeah, that's so crazy. Like, there was a women's basketball coach. What was it? A year ago, and she coached at Western. She wasn't there for long. She left and went to Piedmont, and
Okay.
she like the energy that she gave off, like as a female coach, was just way
Was she
different.
the
Like
head coach?
was she the head coach? And it's crazy because she's a Delta. I'm trying to think.
Okay. I don't know who.
Um,
Was it? It was.
no,
She's at Pembroke.
yeah, she's at Pembroke now.
Yeah. I know
She
who you're
wasn't a
talking
head
about.
coach.
She
She
wasn't a
was
head coach. She was assistant. She
right.
was. She played right before I got there. She's from Winston. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, so she wasn't there for long, but
Hmm.
whenever like when we went to her office and like introduced ourselves, stuff like that, it just felt like welcoming and warm. But like that's not even just with her, like with all female coaches I came across, like whether it's track, basketball, or
There was a
whatever.
connection. There's just a
It's
connection.
just a
Yeah.
connection there. I mean, maybe
Hmm.
just because like I'm female, but it's like I've had male, like probably one or two male coaches where I've had a connection, like felt welcomed. But it's just female coaches kind of make like they give you like more of like a reassurance when it
Hmm.
comes to certain things. So yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Like
Especially if they understand the experience. It could be track, it
yeah,
could be volleyball, it could be basketball, but we had a shared experience that I think
hmm
that was really good between. There's a sisterhood of athletes who competed at different levels, and no matter what level you compete at, you're still competing. You're still having to
exactly,
practice, you're still having to put time into, you're still having to travel, and so there's a grind that most people don't understand unless you've been an athlete and had to balance it. Had to balance going to school and then don't throw in if you got stuff going on with your family and you can't be there.
exactly. Not even just family, but friendships,
Oh yeah.
relationships.
Relationships, oh, that's out the water because they don't understand, and don't get another athlete because they think they stuff is they got more important stuff to do than you. Like, okay, we all competing like
It's the
the
same
same
thing.
thing. Like
That is funny. So
guys, and then but the other piece of that is that the emotions of females sometimes a guy and a girl would get into we used to have to change how we did things because they would get into an argument or something, and then the female can't perform, and the guy goes
mhm,
out there and he's like done whatever he got to do. So we start taking cell phones when they get off the bus because when you get off the bus, you got to focus on the court, like getting on the floor.
right.
And then so the biggest thing they could do was be not distracted because easily be distracted and it takes you out of the loop of what you're trying to do. And sometimes we as females, we're just emotional creatures, and so sometimes we can't put those emotions aside and focus
Mhm.
on what we got to do.
That is so crazy. I wish my coach would have did that because it would be
So
times I'm at a track meet and my ex boyfriend used to be texting me about something not nonsense,
not
and I'm
nothing.
like, my whole everything's messed up. The whole day is ruined. I might run good. I might not run good. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, look, I wish I would never
our,
had my phone.
our team,
Mhm.
she and her boyfriend got into a huge argument. He was a men's basketball player, and she was garbage that night. And so it's like you
Wow.
don't have them. You can't get the head back in it. And so after that, we had a little container. Before they got off the bus, they had to put their phones in the container. They could only be one person with a phone and had the speakers so they could have music. And other than that, because it just doesn't, and that's my biggest thing. I would always say the 94 feet because a basketball court's 94 feet. You never know what a coach has to do to get them ready to play on the 94
Mhm.
feet. Like what has to happen. It's like a track. What do you have to do to get them ready to run? you know, because there's so many things that go on with the athlete that you never know what's going to walk in your office as a coach, and you got to deal with it. And it could be class, relationships, family, everything, anything. My dog died, whatever it is, you got to deal with it. And so that's a compliment to coaches to be able to get them ready when the lights come on, because the lights are going to come on regardless. And that's that hurdle that you have to help them grow and become better at become better at and learn how to handle stuff because that's life. And if you
That
can
is true.
if you can teach life lessons while you're going through it, then you're going to be that much better when you leave me as an adult.
I love that take. That's probably gonna be a clip and put on Instagram so people can see it. That's a
Yeah.
good take, Miss Traker, for real. That is. So I want to know, when are we gonna see you back on the sidelines coaching?
I've shifted my whole life. Unfortunately, I had a sister that passed, and I took two kids.
Oh,
I
I'm
raised
sorry.
them, and life changed for me then. And I stopped coaching because I had to raise two children. The youngest one, she's playing volleyball at Appalachian State, and I spent a lot of time traveling with her. I never knew volleyball was so seasoned. Club volleyball, I knew
Mhm.
basketball was something, but club volleyball would go on from January to July. And so I spent 6 years doing that. And then now she's playing. And so I spent a lot of time going to see her play. In fact, I'm going Saturday to Boone. There was no
Okay.
love lost between Western and App State.
App State.
Yeah.
Yeah, you be careful going up the boom. I know you
Yeah.
with that what was it, hurricane
I was
happened not too long ago.
okay. Oh yeah, they had a lot of stuff. In fact, they
Yeah.
were out of town playing. They were on the road when it happened, and they just
Oh,
kept them. So
really?
she wasn't in town when the hurricane happened. But they got a lot of stuff tore up there.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw, yeah. App State. When I was in school, we used to love going to App State, whether it was
yeah.
a game, whether it was Delta stuff, whether it
Oh
was just to
yeah.
have fun. Asheville too, and
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Oh yeah. But
Like,
the thing about North Carolina is that people don't really discover the mountains. They want to go to the beach and they don't and I love going up in the mountains. It's beautiful up there. And people would come and see me at Western because they want to go to the casino. But but yeah, it's a beautiful part of the state that we
yes.
have.
Yeah, so that's pretty much all I have tonight, Miss Treka. And I thank you for coming on
Oh
here
yeah,
and,
you and the Ambii.Alert. That's pretty cool. I think
thank
that's
you. Thank
awesome.
you.
Best
Yeah,
best of luck to you as you finish up this year, and you're representing. You're not just representing Greensboro. You're representing Columbus County because that's where your roots are. So I know you've been down there many times,
yes,
and
ma'am.
down in the country. But
Nothing to do.
anything I could ever do for you, just let me know because you got my number. I'll be
Yes,
glad to
ma'am.
help you.
Oh, one thing. So how I know with South Carolina, they lost the other night
They're in the
to
portal now. They done got a kid out the portal. They got the best player in the country, the leading scorer in the country that transferred from Florida State for 1 year. They signed her. They getting
wow.
back up. They ain't like we not this not gonna happen to us.
They not playing. They not
I
playing.
hear through the
Don's
rumor mill that we about to get a post player too. That's 6'6" or something, 6'7" or something like that. I said, what?
Don ain't playing.
She
She
ain't
going
playing. She's the truth too. I mean, that's somebody that you know, she has a lot of the sentiments to make sure these athletes are taken care of, and so that's
hmm
important. If you're a coach and you're a person, I think that's why fans love her because she stands up for her players.
Yeah,
So
I definitely see it. But yeah, that's all. I had to bring that in. I forgot they
yeah,
did
they in that portal
sadly
boy.
lose.
They about to get. We ain't getting beat by UConn again like that. That ain't happening.
Yeah, I saw a score. I was like, what? I was really confused. I was like, am I seeing things?
Yeah. Oh, we got to hand it to us, and they were the better team. I mean, they were better than us. But
hmm
I'm telling you, we're gearing back up. So I'll be
Yeah,
excited.
yeah. I can't wait to see what Don has in store for South Carolina in the
I know.
future.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm gonna
best.
probably go to one game. Then you got to give me a ticket to the
Oh, I'll
game.
let you know. I got season tickets. I'll get you. I'll get you some tickets so you
Well,
can go to
thank
a
you
game. All
again.
right. You take care.
Thank you. You
All
as
right.
well.
Bye bye.
Podcast. We out.